Hello, welcome back to a new episode of Road to Rank 1. I'll be doing the voiceover like I did with my Maru series, as a lot of people seem to enjoy that. So rather than doing the first person, I will give the commentary in post here. First game is going to be against Disc, who is a Canadian Protoss player. And me and Disc have played a fair amount. And most of the time I do tend to win, especially in tournaments. But every now and then on the ladder, I do end up losing. I decided to open up with a 1-gate expand, as I've been practicing this build a lot. I've been talking a lot with MaxPax about it as well, and just trying to get better at it for two reasons. The first reason is because I think it's a very powerful tool to have in your toolbox if you're capable of alternating between playing 2-gate and between playing the 1-gate expand. You will just be capable of really tricking your opponent in the early game and forcing your opponent to always scout after gateway, which is not great because proxying pylons is very powerful in PvP. Second reason is also because I want to figure out what I find annoying when I play 1-gate expand myself. So not necessarily what hard counters it, or I'm not expecting to find a holy grail to always beat 1-gate expand, but just to find some build orders that I personally find annoying to deal with when I'm playing 1-gate expand, or the little things that you don't quite realize when you're playing against it or when you're watching the replay, but while you're the one playing the build are sometimes a lot more obvious. And that's one of the main reasons why I'm doing it. Now, I saw my opponent scouted after the second gateway, which means I get to throw down my Nexus before my Cybercore. This is generally really nice, as it gives me more money, it gives me a decent amount of gas still, and I don't have to build a Zealot. Especially not having to build the Zealot is just such a big plus to this build, because the Zealot has no real use except denying a pylon that can get thrown down on your own natural to block your Nexus. So having been capable of skipping that Zealot, I'm feeling pretty okay. I saw his probe pop in and move towards the right side. That doesn't necessarily mean he's actually going to be going towards the right side. I am going to be going there though. So I see both of his Stalkers, or both of his first two units, start at a pretty late timing. And I see his Warp Gate start about 5 seconds after the core finishes as well, which makes me believe he proxied a pylon. As a result of that, I will just throw down a robotics facility, because I scouted the pylon as well. It's obviously pretty helpful to scout it. And he throws down a gate, and I'm just going to be chrono boosting my Stalkers from here on out. Want to get Stalkers, maybe fight around the pylon for a little bit, and see if I can maybe force out a second pylon. Maybe I can force him to lose a probe. Maybe I can kill a Stalker or something like that. I want to go for that probe. Not quite going to get it. And I continue building workers up to 27, 28 at this point. Queue up a third Stalker, and you see him being pretty careful here with the usage of my chrono boost. I'm going to be able to take out this probe. And at this point his Stalkers should be arriving pretty soon. My Stalkers aren't completely in sync, and I actually tank a shot here, which I probably shouldn't have tanked. Tank another shot, which I shouldn't have tanked. So the first trade, the little trade of HP, is going his way, which is bad, because now I can't really contest this. Usually you can kind of contest once you get your third Stalker for a little bit, and maybe take out one pylon, especially if it's this close, but I continuously need to be walking back towards my battery. My first Immortal is on the way, and is almost done. Now I check the amount of workers I had. I see I have 27. I'm happy with that amount. I'm going to be outmining my opponent just slightly, and I have better tech than my opponent. I see he got his first warp in, and I'm suspecting it to be a 4-gate Stalker. That gets confirmed here as I see 8 Stalkers. His first Stalker goes down. I add a couple of more batteries. You can note that I didn't build Warp Gate. I'm not entirely sure yet during this game if I need to get Warp Gate or not. I think afterwards I do realize that starting Warp Gate after you start your first Immortal might just be useful. I decide to go for a third Immortal here rather than going for a Prism, as I want more damage in my army. I'm not quite sure if that's correct. Immediately use the battery here, and as a result of me using the battery rather than trying to focus down the Immortal, he goes for my Stalkers. And perhaps I popped the battery a little bit too quick there, as I did end up losing the Stalkers anyway. Perhaps I should have my Immortals more in front. I have another Stalker on the way right now. No Warp Gate, no second Gateway. I'm gonna be starting a Prism after this Immortal. Now here he decides to go on top of my Immortals, and here I would have loved to have a Super Battery. Sadly I do not have it anymore. This trade wasn't too bad. I think I killed 3 Stalkers for a single Immortal. He tries to shade in, but I don't allow him to. and I try to throw down a forge as well, as I'm like, hey, he's pretty all in, I'm getting a lot of money, and my warp gate is so late, I don't think I will be able to spend that money. I see him trying to go in. Look at the target fire here. I make sure to target the stalkers rather than trying to target the adepts. Here I focus more on microing rather than target fire. Perhaps not the greatest thing I could have done. Try to micro with some pickups. It's probably just not going to matter here. I already won the game. I have plenty of battery. Super battery gets activated. The GG gets called. Let's see what the man himself has to say about this game. Let's take a look at the replay. I think in this case, it might just be better to get an immort or a prism after the first 3. And I should get a slightly faster warp gate, I believe. So I'm just floating a fair amount of money for no real reason. I think initially it's good to skip it, but I'm not quite sure for how long it's useful to skip it. But there's definitely some use to skip it initially. I also didn't really like my control initially when attacking this pylon. I think I could have gotten that pylon, and that forces him to build an extra pylon and thus 1 less unit. Every pylon you take out is 1 less unit. But yeah, if I have an prism after this next fight is a free win. Because I have plenty of batteries, I can just keep picking up. And he needs to get the adepts. Yeah, I think the prism is just a superior call. Like, the prism would have been out at this point already. I can just pick this up and game is over, in my opinion. It's faster warp gate and slightly faster gateway as well. And then I think I'm good. Nice. Alright, our next game is against a 6.9k barcode, actually 6937. So I'm thinking this is either Neep, MaxPax or Showtime, but I saw Showtime was online. And Neep usually isn't this high anymore these days, he's more around 6.5, 6.6. So just to be sure, I check, and I think in about 2 seconds I'll ask if this is indeed MaxPax. And we'll get the confirmation as well. Of course. Who else can it be? Glad to hear. I'm always glad to hear it's MaxPax. I get some practice. Like I mentioned before, one of the main reasons why I play that 1 gate expand a lot is because I want to figure out how to beat the 1 gate expand. That's a nice thing in the mirror matchup, of course, is that very often if you don't know how to beat something, you can just play it yourself and you can very easily figure it out. And this is why I like the mirror matchup the most, because you can... The analysis part, sometimes you don't really have to do everything by yourself, you know? If you don't know how to figure something out in PvZ, then you need to figure it out by yourself. But in this case, the other Protosses can do the work for you, and they'll do it for you without you having to ask for a favor. They'll do it for free, because they want to win ladder points, or they want to beat you in a tournament. So, you know, if you don't get beaten on the ladder, you can take it to the tournament, and maybe there they have something special. Now, I played against an American player the other day, I think it was Astrea, and he played a type of Nexus before 3rd pylon against me, and Mana also did that against me recently, so I decided to try something along these lines. I don't quite have the exact build order I want to play at with this, but I figured, you know what, if I just play some type of quick 3rd Nexus myself, then it might be fine. Now, one of the main things I really care about here is that he has to finish his Zealot. So I start a pylon on his natural, and the main reason why I do that is because I really want him to finish this Zealot. If he finishes the Zealot, he's going to be kind of tight on money. It's also going to be hard for him to... not get supply walk, and he'll need to cut a couple of workers. Almost forgot what I wanted to say there. So I see a unit still being popped out, and now he throws down the Nexus. I'm obviously pretty upset about that, because really the only thing I care about in life is him not cancelling that Zealot. And now he managed to get that Nexus down while cancelling the Zealot. So literally all I wanted didn't happen here. I decide to open with a 3rd Nexus before pylon, so I still have a very fast Nexus, and I'm gonna get 4 Stalkers before I get my 3rd pylon, and it also means I'm kind of cutting workers at this point, because during this time I can't really be building workers. I find his Adept, and I'm gonna try to attack it, hopefully kill it before it gets anything important. I get the Scout off on the Stargate, so I see that it's going to be an Oracle. I decide to throw down a battery for that, so I can be a little bit aggressive, get a 4th pylon across the map, and get a battery at home. Don't forget, I chrono boosted once here on the warp gate so I can get some pressure going. I want to go there with 5, 6 stalkers, something like that. I'm going to try to get this adept. If I get this adept, that would be really nice, because then I don't need to continuously keep walling. However, I don't get the final shot in, and my opponent actually will be capable of shading in, as I don't have a unit in position. My battery does finish up, which is kind of nice. One of my stalkers did go home, and I have a battery, so it's not the end of the world. I decide to super battery here, so I don't lose too much energy, and I'm not going to be losing too many probes. Throw down a Twilight Council. I'm pushing with stalkers at the same time, so I'm just trying to clear some energy on my opponent's battery while forcing out a Void Ray as well. Of course, he doesn't know if I have 3 gates, maybe I have a gateway proxied, so he really needs to get a Void Ray. I decided rather than pushing this hard, I go for 2 adepts, and this is a little bit of a risky play and perhaps even a bit of a greedy play, because it means I have less units, but it might allow me to get a lot of worker kills, because his Oracle is not at home and Void Rays and Stalkers are really weak against adepts. However, he's quick enough, even though there's a lot of action going on the map, to full wall here, and I was impressed by that, as you could see by my facial expression. I'm a person that is very easily impressed. This is why whenever I go to the circus, everyone that works there loves me. It's like, oh, it's walking on the ball. And I'm like, yeah, that is very impressive. You can always see it in my face as well when I'm impressed by something. It's a little bit intense. Trying to get that Oracle, not quite getting it. I'm also still trying to get some damage in with these adepts. And I realize I need to get a new pylon because that pylon is going to die. And I think I already built a pylon beforehand. Yeah, I'm gonna need another one because otherwise I will still get supply blocked. Throw down a forge. I try to get in again, and honestly, once again, his reaction time is just really good. I'm just impressed by him. His skill is very good. I also saw no units at home in front of his gateways, and that makes me believe here that he might actually be moving out. So I decided to throw down a battery, get another warp in, and keep some units in position in my main base, obviously, in case there's an Oracle. Oracle pops up now, throws down the Revelation. I try to go in one more time here with my adepts, but he still has a battery in the wall and not quite going to be able to get out. I'm afraid of DT, so throw down a robotics facility before I get myself a 3rd base. And I recall as the Oracle finds my adepts. I scout in the main base, I see 3 gateways total, I see a forge, and I want to be getting my own 3rd base right now. I think I have more stalkers, slightly faster blink, because he decided to go for double Void Ray before the blink, most likely. So I want to go across the map and try to do a little bit of damage, and I think I'm going to be capable of doing that as well. So I decided to move across the map. My army is slightly split, but shouldn't be much of an issue, because only a madman would attack me at this time. Oh! Here comes the madman. Has 2 Void Rays and a bunch of stalkers. His blink is about probably 10 to 15 seconds slower than mine, and I'm aware of that. My blink just finished now, and every second that goes by is a good second for him, basically. This was a debatable blink, but I did do it, and you know, you gotta stand behind what you do. Not the greatest control out of me. I think overall this was a fine trade, resource-wise. But I think I should have been capable of doing more here. I don't want to continue chasing, as I just noticed he also has blink. And I just realized that my opponent, is most likely going to send an Oracle into my natural. I'm trying to run away with my probes, but he still manages to catch 4. That's a little bit of mining time I'm going to be losing here. Now my follow-up plan is pretty simple. I want to get charge. I want to get a bunch of stalkers for map control and to deal with my opponent's harass. And I want to get a Robo Bay eventually, and ideally as quick as possible, really, while getting more Zealots in my army. So I kind of want to get map control with Zealot Stalker, and while doing that, go into Disruptors, maybe even DTs. That's kind of the main goal here. So throw down the Disruptors, get a couple of extra gateways as well. I noticed that I don't have a whole lot of vision in my main base, but I do have some vision in the map. And I see the Stalkers moving forward. Do realize that most likely he has had a better economy during the entirety of the game, so he's most likely on 6 gateways at this point. I'm not quite sure about it, but I'm expecting or suspecting him to be at 6, 5 gateways, decent gateway count. He's gonna get more stalkers over time. His Oracle is gonna take a little bit of damage. It's not gonna be able to get taken out. My battery is pretty empty here, which is not great. I'm also slightly oversaturated in my main base. I built too many workers, and I didn't take gas quick enough, so I'm actually lacking my gas, and and I have too many workers. So I'm gonna try to correct that here by warping in a bunch of zealots and taking 6 gases at the same time. That means that in a Stalker Zealot fight, where one player has pure Stalker and the other has a bunch of Stalkers and a bunch of Zealots, the Stalker Zealot player often wins. So defensively, I'm pretty okay as long as there's no Archons coming my way. I decide to throw down a Dark Shrine as well. I do see he has an Observer over there. If I recall correctly, I have a second Observer. I see 2 Adepts. I think he wants to shade into my main base. And now I kind of make a mistake. I didn't think he would actually go into my main base. I send a couple of Zealots to deal with these Adepts. I lose my Cybernetics core here, which I didn't notice for a very long time after this. But you see the Zealots really helping out, just tanking so much damage. Big Oracle Stasis also hits my 3rd base at the same time. I end up cleaning up the Adepts. I get some more vision in my main base, because that's really what I was lacking. My 4th base in the cheeky location is finishing up at this point, and I'm surprised that my Dark Shrine isn't done yet, because in my mind I built it about half an hour ago. Still about 20 seconds on that Dark Shrine though. I get a cannon in my own natural because I am afraid of him attacking, and my 4th base is in such a vulnerable position that I don't really believe that I can hold it. I also have almost no map vision because he sniped my Observer, and I'm too afraid to send out an Observer now because I'm kind of scared my opponent just sending in a couple of DTs. It is MaxPax after all. He loves his Dark Templar. I realize that most likely he's going to be attacking my 4th base or attacking into my natural. And as a way to stop him from killing me, I decide to set a couple of DTs around. Try to go for a snipe on one of the cannons. I should also most likely start my DT blink if I haven't yet. And I warp in 1 DT over here as well. I can't really be chasing, and I'm gonna lose both of these disruptors before I get a shot in. This has nothing to do with me being slow. I couldn't have shot anymore by the time he blinked in. But it has more to do with me not being in position with units where I can see where he's coming in. So I just basically missed him moving up. If I know, then I can send in some zoning shots, and I have a good Stalker count, so I should be fine. Prism goes into my main base and starts warping in. I don't notice it. He doesn't notice the DTs though, as there's action right now on 4 different fronts. The DTs on his base, the Zealots in my 4th, and there's Zealots in my main. I'm paying attention to 3 different fronts, and he's paying attention to 3 different fronts. He didn't pay attention at home, and I didn't pay attention in my main base, which means that he loses a lot in his 3rd, and I actually lose a lot in my main base. This is the first time I truly realized, I'm like, oh crap, this isn't good. I also end up losing my 4th, not because I didn't pay attention, but just because I didn't have enough there. Didn't really find a way to get back. I do end up getting this Prism, and I kill all the Zealots, and there really wasn't that many probes in my main base. So overall, I'm just happy to be alive. You know, it could have been worse. I could have died, and now I'm not dead, so I guess I'm kind of happy. I'm considering building a 2nd robotics facility, but I'm not even on a 4th base yet. And yeah, as he doesn't have disruptors yet, getting 12 disruptors isn't quite a priority, but just having 4 or 5 is a really nice amount and usually allows you to win these type of battles. I still have a DT squad, and I'm going to be sending that out. I do have Blink at this point, and I also have a Stalker army, which I'm going to be using to snipe this cannon. I have a disruptor shot. It's going to hit about 5 of his Zealots. One of my own. I do lose this disruptor without really getting anything done. Get a pretty decent trade. End up sniping that Oracle. Oracle stayed alive for 12 minutes in this game, so pretty decent Oracle. And this is quite risky out of me, because if he decides to attack into my natural with DTs at this point, I have nothing there to defend, and I probably would just straight up lose. Now, this time around he responds so freaking fast. As I blink, he pulls the workers, and that now means that I'm kind of stuck in there, and I'm going to be losing all my DTs. However, it also means he's microing that area currently. So I got a decent disruptor shot off, get an Immortal, get a bunch of the Stalkers, and I actually have the ability to push forward right now. So that's exactly what I'm going to be doing. I have some disruptors to fight against Archon Zealot counts. I have a superior Stalker count as well. Still, the only thing I'm really afraid of at this point is going to be a... boom! 5 Stalkers. Is going to be a DT warp into my natural, as I don't really have anything there right at this moment. So I'm gonna get Observer Speed, so in case I need those over there. And I use my Stalkers to attack this Nexus, while kind of trying to zone him out with the Stalkers at the same time. I don't want to send in my Zealots into my opponent's Archons, I'm gonna send one zoning shot here perhaps. Make sure these Archons stay away. And then I go on top of that Nexus and I walk away. I haven't really been probing up, and that definitely is a mistake. He's been trying to pick off reinforcements. My expanding pattern is pretty meh. I'm not a huge fan of it here. So I have this large line, which makes it very easy for my opponent to counterattack. And I don't really have any safe spots. Perhaps my natural could be the only safe spot, but all of my reinforcements are always vulnerable. There's no easy way for me to retreat. It's very difficult for me to get map vision, and all of these things kind of do suck. So I'm trying to keep this map vision. I'm trying to make sure that I see something, but majority of this game so far, I have been blind. I'm trying to see if he's getting that left side base, and I want to send a unit there. Ideally a DT or a Zealot, both is fine. DTs tend to be slightly better. And right now what I'm doing is I'm going to be using my main Stalker army. The goal of my main Stalker army is to fight his Stalker army, and of my Disruptors to fight his Archon Zealot DT run by. If I can do that, I know that I have a higher Stalker count, and I know that he can't walk into Disruptors if he has Archon. So just trying to fight here. I also noticed here that I have +3 attack and my opponent only is on +2, so that's definitely a big advantage. Upgrades are always important to keep going. Very often people stop getting them after +2 because Disruptors come into play and they do become a little bit less useful. But if you have a lot of these run-bys, a lot of these Zealot fights, I still believe it's kind of worth it. So I'm just desperately trying to establish some type of map vision. I still see that army there on the left side, and I'm just keeping a Zealot DT squad here as well. Technically I'm ahead in eco, because I just killed his fort base earlier. So I believe I also have a superior supply count, but I'm really afraid to attack because I don't know, I'm just a scared person. And also, on top of that, I feel very comfortable in these longer games, so I don't really feel the need sometimes to push the issue, even if I can. I think that is a mistake rather than a something to be proud of. I did say it like I was proud of it. I am proud of the fact that I'm quite good in the late game, but it also leads me to believe that as long as the game keeps going on and I'm even, I don't really need to force anything. So rather than continue pushing here, and now watching back, I think I definitely could have, I decide to go back home and try to play a 5 base versus 3 base scenario. I end up losing all of my Disruptors because of a huge error here. Absolutely massive mistake. I do get a couple of these Stalkers, but this is, oh my god, almost didn't blink. Pretty happy that I managed to dodge that. But yeah, this has been the last 25 seconds have been god awful, because now I'm not ahead in army tech anymore. Before I had better army, I had better eco, and I had better upgrades. Now he actually has a decent Disruptor count, so it's actually becoming difficult. I also see that he doesn't have a base on that left side. I blinked slightly too late there, lost another couple of Stalkers. I'm also constantly afraid of his run-by army joining his real army. So I'm just always keeping an eye on the map, making sure that there's no flank coming in. And I don't really want to be going too deep. At this point, my army isn't large enough anymore where I can just easily say, hey, this is all gonna be fine. Like I'm actually kind of afraid of losing at this point in the next few seconds, as my opponent, well, most likely has a higher Disruptor count as I rally another Disruptor into its death. Do get that observer, and at this point I have no Disruptors with this army. I have one Disruptor on the bottom army, which I'll need to defend that base, and one Disruptor coming in. So even though I'm up a base, I don't really feel ahead anymore. As my opponent moves in, I see it's like 4 or 5 Disruptors. Still has a large army on my side. Barely managed to blink away. It's always tricky to do these two things at the same time, especially if you're an old player like I am. Brain doesn't quite work as quick anymore. I'm looking for a jump in on that army, by the way, but I'm too afraid to jump because I don't know if there's maybe a Disruptor behind it. He decides to commit a little bit. I don't think that's the correct call. So he decides to go back. He also doesn't think it's the correct call. And now again have 2 Disruptors. I immediately retake that base. And as you can see, by the way, I am on 3-1 upgrades. I have +1 shield upgrades. My opponent is still on +2. So a lot of these smaller engagements are actually going in my favor, where there is just a couple of shots being traded. And that actually might matter in the longer game. So when it's just Stalker against Stalker here, all of these trades, I do kind of get the better end of that deal every single time. There I get 2 Disruptors for 0, so that's also a good trade. And now I'm trying to blink one up, making sure that I can actually get this one as well for free, for safe, that he isn't waiting upstairs. He snipes one of my disruptors, but it's not completely free as he also loses an observer or two there. At the same time, he's still continuously trying to push into my natural. And I realize I might have a disruptor lead, and I know I have more stalkers than him. And I have better upgrades. So really I'm thinking once again of taking out this forward base and getting a 1 base lead on my opponent again. This was kind of risky as I have no vision of what's below me. Which means that if he would have come in with a flank, that could have been an issue. I'm of course making sure that my army on the bottom side, if I see his army come, that one also joins up with my army. I'm kind of matching his movement. Oh! He just pulls a disruptor shot into his own army. Now he tries to rotate over there, and this move actually kind of pulls me out of position. He kills my cannon, and I think he also... Oh, what am I doing here? Moving forward, trying to get some damage on. Get a disruptor shot, not the greatest shots, but should be kind of okay. I see a couple of DTs still here. Oh, managed to barely blink away. Cooldown just barely got off. And I need to get an observer over here, but for the first time I'm feeling like my run-by army might be big enough at this point that I can fight his run-by army, and that means that I don't have to be too afraid anymore, and that maybe soon I will be the one that is pushing across the map with my run-by army, because he's had those Archons in that army the entire time, and now it's actually grown pretty big, and I'm feeling good about that. See a single stalker here on the map. He decides to blink out like a good boy. And oh, don't quite get it. I'm up a base. I still have this really awkward position, which makes it hard to defend, and I have no map vision of the left side. I am looking for an opportunity. So you see a little bit of a lag spike there. I noticed that in the game as well. And I'm just trying to zone him out while sending my zealots into his fort base. And this is where I make one of the bigger mistakes, and that is that I didn't really have those control groups. So it's very tricky for me to pull them back on the minimap while I'm microing my disruptors, which I am right here. I see my zealots dying on the minimap, but I'm too afraid to look over there because a disruptor shot might kill my entire army. I do get this base, but I lose like 10 zealots, and that's actually kind of expensive. I'm also lacking gas pretty hard. I don't have gas on my fourth base. I did take the gases on my fifth, but I don't think I quite started mining them yet. I'm also still not aware where my opponent's army is at this point, and that does scare me. Getting more gateways, making sure that this top base is semi-secure, and I want to get a sixth base as well at the same time. Blink away, and now I see that his entire army is over here, which, oh my god, that was not a good blink. End up losing about 8 supply there for free, which is 4 stalkers, and his disruptors also get to the high ground at a similar time as me, which also isn't completely brilliant. Gonna get some of these Archons finally, but a very scary situation here. I do realize that I'm ahead eco-wise. I mean, I killed his third base. His fourth base is most likely the only one mining. Well, I have my fourth and the fifth. My fourth is almost empty, and I'm lacking gas, so it's not all brilliant. And I still don't have any map vision. If one of the things that really has gone wrong this game for me is the fact that my map vision has been so mediocre. And I've kind of been gambling where his army is going to be according to me. He sends in a lot of units here, and although I do understand that, I'm not quite sure if this was the ultimate play, because that is a lot of money for him right now. It's not like he has infinite money. He has a low amount of workers. I actually kill one of my own stalkers, pretty sloppy. I'm looking for these DTs. I find them, and I'm gonna get them. So I think I got the DTs there in the main base. I decide to fly out, and I realize it's going to be hard to defend my bases because he's kind of zoning me out, something I've been doing to him for a long time as well. So I'm like, okay, he's gonna get this base, and well, yeah, it's just not great for me basically. I'm gonna get this base. As long as I keep my top base alive, I'm going to be pretty happy, because then I still have a mining base. I know he has a mining base on the left side, but it's not the end of the world for me basically. It's not the end of the world, and I can keep pushing because I still believe I have a larger army. I'm also moving a big portion of my army towards that far left side, making sure he can't take that base. I check this one, I see, hey, there's nothing there. That's brilliant. And I try to retake my own sixth at this point. I think I could push a little bit more aggressive here once again. This is one of those points where I think my run-by army should be heading towards the top right side. and my main army should be moving towards the left. Instead, I'm kind of sending my entire run-by army towards the left, and I don't really manage to establish my own 6th base, which is a mistake as well. So here I'm just trying to zone my opponent out. This army is getting, well, kind of destroyed, honestly. I do decide to fight because I know I have these stalkers coming in soon as well. I blink forward, and I can zone out my opponent at this point. Get a couple of decent hits with these disruptors. I still have the top right side base, and I decide to warp in a bunch of zealots in case he sends DTs over there. I want to catch this army that is here on the bottom side, but I'm afraid of him jumping me from the back. Now I'm gonna go there, and I think he manages to escape somehow, some way. Must have recalled or something like that. Not quite sure how he did that, but he did, as he's not here no more. And that kind of did piss me off, honestly. And I was like, huh, that is annoying. I was also checking if I saw like the shimmer of DTs. I didn't, but yeah, I wish I had. I have these units on the top right side right now, warping a couple of DTs there as well. I want to make sure that that can stay alive. And if he ever wants to go there, he needs to go there with his entire army. That basically is my plans. Like, he can't just send 20 DTs there, or well, 10 DTs and 5 zealots and kill that. So I'm always going to be up a base, basically, is my plan. And I see this with an observer that I have on the map. I see his army looking for something. I also realize like 28 workers on this one base. And I have some vision with my DT. I tried to get some sneaky shots off. Instead, I just kill my own DT. And actually, he catches my disruptors here, which is a very big mistake as well. Jump in to defend them, but my disruptor count just fell. To get another observer kill. But it's not brilliant. Both of us controlling these armies relatively well. I have my 6th base up. I tried to go for it again. It's very difficult for me at this point to figure out what he's doing because I don't have the greatest vision. I now see his entire army move across the map. I'm like, oh, we're kind of semi-base trading in a way. But that is actually okay for me because all of my active mining isn't in one corner. I have one base still mining in the top right, but I also have a base on the bottom side, which means that if I can defend this base a little bit or stall a little bit and I take out both of my opponent's bases, he just won't have any mining, and I still will have one base mining, which means, well, one base mining versus no bases mining. It tends to be good. At this point I also have +2 armor, by the way, and my opponent still only is on 2-1, I believe. So I'm up 2 full upgrades, which is very helpful. I have all of my observers at the same spot rather than splitting them up a little bit. And here we see MaxPax actually go for a recall on the disruptors. I try to snipe as many observers as I can, and I don't think I can actually straight up fight into these disruptors. I can't really blink in. I try to poke in, poke out, but I'm like, well, is that a risk I really want to take? I mean, he's long distance mining, that's all he's doing. If I just defend, I'm gonna be fine. So I'm trying to catch these DTs as bad as I can right now. Tries to run them home. He's not going to succeed with that. So loses all of his DTs. And at this point, I have one base mining. I don't have a disruptor lead, as I only have 2 disruptors and he has like 6. But I do have a gateway unit lead, and I have better upgrades. And I still have mining, which means I can still build disruptors. So all of these things are kind of okay. Try to get as much gas as I can, as once again I'm lacking gas. Trying to look for an angle at which I can engage and make sure he's not taking that right side base. Also want to make sure he doesn't take this left side base. So I'm just spreading out my units, making sure that everything is good. He decides to move forward here. I'm looking for where his disruptors are. I see his disruptors. He blinks forward. My disruptors come in with a flank and I get a massive hit here. Well, massive. I get like 3-4 units. And I decide to move back a little bit. GG gets called. Kevin is very happy, as it's very rare that I manage to beat MaxPax in such long games. Especially if I don't have the momentum. And I definitely didn't have the momentum this game. I was on the back foot for a long time. Get a lot of points, win the game, and yeah, that's going to be it for today. I hope you all enjoyed it. If you did, don't forget to hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, and I hope to see you all next time for a new video. Bye bye.